So we finally have the schedule out for the 2026 IndyCar season, and it is quite different compared to this previous year. We've got some new additions to the schedule, some races moved around, so I want to get into that a little bit. So just going over the schedule, starting March 1st is St. Pete, then moving into March 7th, we have the return of Phoenix. March 15th, heading to Arlington for the Arlington GP. March 29th, going to Barber. April 19th, Long Beach. May 9th, the Indy GP. May 24th, the Indy 500. May 31st, going to the streets of Detroit. June 7th, St. Louis for Gateway. June 21st, then we head to Road America. July 5th, Mid Ohio. July 19th is going to be Nashville now instead of the season finale, so that got switched around. August 9th is going to be Portland. August 16th is the Markham GP, replacing Toronto. And then Milwaukee is getting a doubleheader now, so August 29th and August 30th are now Milwaukee. And then September 6th is going to be the season finale at Laguna Seca, so 17 races on the race calendar. So unfortunately, with the World Cup happening, Mexico City wasn't going to happen for 2026, so they're looking at 2027 for that. It's disappointing for sure, but I mean, not a lot you can really work with. So while it's disappointing, I understand as a fan, but that needs to be priority in 2027. That race needs to happen that next year, because there's no limitations there with the World Cup happening in 2026. I understand, but it needs to be priority for 2027. Other than that, though, I mean, I feel like the schedule looks all right. I like seeing an oval before the Indy 500. It's what a lot of people have asked for. I feel like this schedule is a good mix between all of it. You don't really have an oval heavy back end of the schedule. While it is exciting, it's good to kind of space it out a little bit and have that little switch up. So finally getting an oval before the Indy 500 and the return to Phoenix. So hopefully the racing's a lot better, and I think it will be. The short track product right now has been really good. Arlington should be fun, honestly, just a new event for IndyCar, so hopefully that race is good. Moving Barber back a little bit, I think, was a good idea, and not having it in the month of May, especially at the start, just focusing on Indy, and then after the Indy 500 May 24th. Detroit is still in May, but it's at the tail end compared to being at the start. So I feel like that's good for IndyCar, focusing your entire basically month of May on Indianapolis. The Markham Grand Prix, I think, should be all right. The track layout looks pretty nice, honestly, so I think that should be a decent race. And Milwaukee going back to a doubleheader, I think, was the best move, honestly. I didn't understand why they went to one race. Obviously, this is helping replace Iowa not being on the schedule anymore. While the race was good last year, just unfortunately wasn't going to work out, and it just really seemed like that, especially with the fan turnout. And then the season finale switching back to Laguna Seca. I personally think that we should end on an oval. I think that's the most exciting for the series. But you know what? Laguna Seca is a really good track, a really historic track on the IndyCar schedule. So, I mean, having the finale there isn't necessarily a bad idea. The fan turnout last year or this previous season was really good. So, not the worst, honestly. I understand the switch around for certain things, especially because Nashville is going to be a primetime night race. That's a great idea. Also going to 400 miles for that, so it's going to be a big event, especially after the World Cup final. So hopefully can bring in some new fans for that. And having more night races on the schedule is always a great idea, especially in prime time, because the Gateway race this previous season, big success, I feel like. Brought in quite a bit of viewers. I believe it went over the 1 million mark, which is where IndyCar is kind of looking to trend upwards up into. This previous season, it was around that kind of 700,000, 800,000 mark, I feel like. So it wasn't quite as able to kind of go past that 1 million mark as much as we would like, but I feel like things are starting to trend upwards. So having these primetime night races on Sunday night in the summer when people really have nothing to do, I think is a really good idea. But it really isn't bad, honestly. The more I look at it, at first I felt a little bit negative about it. I think that was my feelings with Nashville being moved from the finale, but you know what? It really is what it is. Like I was kind of saying earlier, I feel like it's kind of a good switch up in terms of the road and street courses with the ovals on the schedule. So you have a good mix of both going throughout the entire year. And one of my biggest complaints for the 2025 season was that the first half of the schedule was just brutal in terms of these stretches. You had 2 to 3 week gaps that I feel like kind of killed some momentum that they had going for them with the Super Bowl ads, with St. Pete and the great viewership that guy, and then having those weird gaps in between, I think really hurt it. So March is absolutely stacked, which is great. April, unfortunately, the only race in April is Long Beach, so hopefully they can just put a lot of promotional material for that to kind of get people tuned in. And then, yeah, after that, I feel like the ball just gets rolling again. I mean, you have the whole month of May, which is always exciting, and then after the Indy 500, you still have a race at Detroit. June really isn't that bad either. You got St. Louis and Road America in there, which those are two historic tracks. Gateway always produces a great race. July isn't a bad stretch either. You have a road course in there in Mid-Ohio, which isn't the most exciting, but then right after that, you have Nashville after a couple weeks. And then August, you got Portland, Markham, and Milwaukee. I mean, August is absolutely stacked as well. I feel like Markham will be a nice new exciting addition, and then Milwaukee is one of the best races on the calendar, honestly, in my opinion. So I feel like you're going to see a great short track product there, just like we've seen in the previous 2 years. And then, yeah, ending at Laguna Seca for the season finale. Going to see if Alex Palou gets the championship up till that point. We'll see, just like this previous year. But, I mean, who knows? We could have some new challengers this year. The championship could be a lot closer, but I don't really know. But, yeah, I mean, no Iowa, no Mexico City, switch for the grand finale, and people were talking about a potential street race in DC. I'm glad that's not on the schedule, honestly. That just sounds like a nightmare, honestly, trying to figure that out and schedule it and just get the things you need for that. I'm glad that's not on there, honestly, just in my opinion. But overall, honestly, I feel confident that this next season should be good. Obviously, I know there's some disappointments with the fans, which I totally understand. But if IndyCar can kind of make it up in the future, especially having Mexico City in 2027, I think things will look better for IndyCar. I don't know really where you really put that, though. I guess you would put it in the middle of the summer, so going up to 18 races hopefully next year, because I know Phoenix is a one-year deal, so hopefully that can last in the schedule, especially if it's a really good race, because I mean, I think having an oval before the Indy 500 is a really good idea, to get fans excited for that, and especially because the short track racing has been really good lately, the past couple of years, so hopefully that brings a lot more excitement. And then having the double headers of NASCAR honestly is great. Phoenix and St. Pete will be doubleheaders with NASCAR, with the NASCAR trucks running at St. Pete, and then for Phoenix, I don't know if it'll be Xfinity or Cup doing the doubleheader with IndyCar, but one of the two. So yeah, overall, I feel like it's really positive for the series, and then of course all the races are going to be broadcast on Fox, so that's really great to see. Still having that consistency and the kind of where you're going to be watching. Great for the fans, honestly. And yeah, I feel like things are looking good for next year. While it may not be perfect, it's as good as it can be, honestly. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we have some great racing next year. Yeah, love to hear any thoughts down below about the schedule and some thoughts for next year. I know the silly season news was kind of crazy for a little bit. Now it's kind of died down a little bit, so now we're just kind of anticipating what's going to happen next in terms of driver changes, but at least we finally had the schedule out. It took long enough. So yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day and have a good one.